Welcome, basketball enthusiasts, die-hard supporters, and analysts of the game, to what will be our most comprehensive, exhaustively detailed, and expansive breakdown yet. Today, we are embarking on a deep, unrelenting exploration into the current state of Philippine basketball, specifically focusing on the recent, highly discussed, and strategically fascinating encounter between GILAS Pilipinas and the national team of GUAM during the FIBA World Cup Asian qualifiers. The headlines have been ablaze, dominating every sports news outlet, trending across every social media platform, and echoing through the bustling streets, local barangay courts, and massive arenas across the archipelago. The central narrative that has captured the collective imagination of the basketball-crazed nation revolves around a multi-layered story. The four distinct advantages that GILAS Pilipinas brought to the floor, the absolute dominance they displayed, and the deeply heartbreaking reality surrounding the generational talent, Sotto, whose meticulously constructed, highly anticipated development plan for this crucial year was tragically derailed by a devastating anterior cruciate ligament injury. We are not just going to give you the box score today. We are going to deconstruct the very fabric of these events. We will look at the cultural significance of this game, the tactical genius of the coaching staff, the physical and psychological toll of a major sports injury, and the ripple effects this has on the future of the Philippine national team. The Philippines is a country where basketball is not merely a sport. It is a religion, a universal language, and a unifying force that transcends socioeconomic boundaries, political affiliations, and geographical distances. When the national team, affectionately and fiercely known as GILAS Pilipinas, steps on the hardwood, it carries the weight, the hopes, and the fervent passion of over 100 million people. Every dribble, every pass, every defensive rotation, and every shot is scrutinized, celebrated, or agonized over by a fan base that is arguably the most passionate in the entire world. This recent window of the FIBA qualifiers placed GILAS in a matchup against GUAM, an island nation that, while smaller in population, brings a brand of basketball characterized by rugged physicality, relentless hustle, and a profound sense of pride. GUAM is not a team that easily capitulates. They are scrappy, they are well-drilled, and they are always looking to orchestrate an upset on the international stage. But GILAS Pilipinas, currently navigating a renaissance under the brilliant, steady, and historically successful leadership of head coach Tim Cone, was not about to let an upset happen on their watch, let alone on their home soil. Coach Cone, a veritable legend in Philippine basketball with a record number of professional championships, has instilled a culture of defensive tenacity, offensive fluidity, and emotional maturity within this squad. Against GUAM, GILAS exploited what analysts have dubbed the four major advantages, a strategic and physical superiority that dictated the entire tempo of the series. We will break down these four pillars: their overwhelming height and length in the front court, their unparalleled depth and rotation capabilities, their elite perimeter shooting and spacing, and the undeniable, deafening, and completely overwhelming psychological advantage of playing in front of the legendary Philippine home crowd. However, as we celebrate the victories and the tactical masterclasses, we must simultaneously confront the somber reality that casts a shadow over the arena. Sotto, the 7'3" prodigy, the anchor of the future, and a player whose ceiling reaches the absolute heights of global basketball, was relegated to the sidelines. This year, the specific 12-month period, was universally viewed by sports scientists, basketball analysts, and fans alike as the pivotal year for Kai. He had formulated a brilliant multi-stage development plan that involved dominating the Japanese B-League, refining his physical frame, enhancing his low-post footwork, and expanding his shooting range, all culminating in a dominant showcase in these exact FIBA windows. The plan was flawless. The trajectory was set. But then, the unforgiving nature of professional sports reared its ugly head. A severe knee injury, a torn ACL, an injury that strikes fear into the heart of any athlete, completely shattered this timeline. The physical pain of the injury is one thing, but the psychological toll of having a perfectly laid plan ruined, of having to hit the pause button on a skyrocketing career, is a burden that we will explore in profound depth today. We will talk about his grueling 9-month rehabilitation process, his transition into non-contact training, and his inspiring decision to remain with the team, offering his presence, his voice, and his unwavering support from the bench, even when he cannot contribute on the floor. This introduction is just the tip of the iceberg. What follows is a deep dive unlike any other, an exhaustive analysis that will leave no stone unturned, no tactical nuance ignored, and no emotional storyline unexplored. We are going to dissect the performance of Renzo Bando, who caught fire and electrified the crowd with his breathtaking athleticism. We will analyze the absolute rebounding masterclass put on by the new additions, specifically Quinton Milora-Brown, who helped Gilas shatter Asian qualifier records. We will talk about the bittersweet farewell to Japeth Aguilar, a cornerstone of the national program for over a decade. And we will look ahead to what this means for the daunting challenges that lie in the future, including the looming matchups against basketball powerhouses like New Zealand and Australia. So, brace yourselves, because we are about to plunge into the absolute depths of this narrative. Let us transition now into the core of our discussion, the deep dive analysis, where we will methodically, comprehensively, and expansively break down every single facet of the Gilas Pilipinas versus GUAM encounters, the underlying strategies, the player performances, and the profound implications of Kai Sotto's unfortunate absence. To truly understand the magnitude of what transpired on the court, we must first analyze the strategic masterclass orchestrated by head coach Tim Cone. For decades, Tim Cone has been the preeminent tactical mind in Philippine basketball, a maestro who has historically utilized the intricate, highly structured triangle offense to achieve unprecedented success. However, his evolution as a coach for the national team has been a fascinating study in adaptability. Recognizing the unique skill sets, the sheer athleticism, and the distinct international experience of this current iteration of Gilas, Cone has blended his foundational principles of disciplined spacing, ball movement, and offensive accountability with a more modern, fast-paced, and read-and-react offensive system. This was glaringly evident in the matchup against GUAM. The trending discussion surrounding the four advantages of Gilas is not merely a catchy talking point. It is a concrete, empirically verifiable reality that dictates the outcome of these games. Let us examine the first of these four advantages, the absolute, overwhelming disparity in sheer size and length. For generations, Philippine basketball teams, despite their unmatched heart, speed, and shooting ability, often found themselves at a severe disadvantage against taller, bulkier international opponents. The narrative was always about the David versus Goliath struggle, relying on quickness to offset a lack of height. But this current Gilas pool represents a paradigm shift. Even without the towering 7'3" presence of Kai Sotto, the Philippine frontline was formidable, imposing, and completely dominant. The addition of players like Quinton Milora-Brown has injected a level of rebounding tenacity and interior defense that is world-class. In the first game against GUAM, Gilas registered an absolutely staggering 20 offensive rebounds. Think about that for a moment. 20 extra possessions, 20 opportunities for second chance points. 20 times the GUAM defense worked tirelessly to force a missed shot, only to be demoralized by a soaring Filipino athlete snatching the ball off the rim. They overwhelmed GUAM on the glass, setting a new FIBA World Cup Asian qualifiers record for the team. This was not just about height. It was about positioning, desire, and a relentless commitment to controlling the painted area. The first advantage, therefore, was this undeniable dominance in the paint, a physical imposition that slowly but surely eroded GUAM's resistance. The second advantage was the unparalleled depth of the Gilas roster. In international basketball, tournaments and qualifying windows are wars of attrition. Fatigue sets in, legs grow heavy, and the tactical discipline often wavers in the fourth quarter. GUAM, fielding a valiant but ultimately thinner rotation, simply could not keep pace with the relentless waves of fresh, highly skilled, and fiercely motivated players that Tim Cone deployed from the bench. When the starters rested, the intensity did not drop. In fact, in many stretches, it elevated. We saw the electrifying impact of Renzo Bando. A Bando is a player who defies gravity, a human highlight reel whose vertical leap and sheer explosiveness make him a nightmare for opposing defenses. When he checked into the game, he didn't just bring energy, he brought a complete shift in the game's dynamic. His ability to elevate over defenders for jump shots, his fearless drives to basket, and his disruptive length on the defensive end completely destabilized GUAM's perimeter players. Furthermore, the veteran presence of players like Justin Brownlee, the naturalized scoring machine whose clutch performances have become legendary, provided a stabilizing force. In the second game, when GUAM mounted a brief, spirited rally in the third quarter behind a hot shooting of Jericho crews, cutting the deficit to single digits. It was Brownlee who calmly, methodically, and ruthlessly extinguished their hopes, erupting for double-digit points in a matter of minutes to push the lead back to an insurmountable margin. This depth, this ability to throw different looks, different paces, and different offensive weapons at the opponent for a full 40 minutes constituted the second major advantage that crushed Guam's game plan. The third advantage lies in the elite perimeter shooting and spatial awareness of the GILAS guards and wings. In the modern game of basketball, the three-point shot is the ultimate equalizer, but it is also the ultimate weapon of destruction when utilized by a team that already dominates the interior. Because Guam was forced to collapse their defense into the paint to combat the rebounding prowess of Milor Brown, Carl Tamayo, and the driving lanes of the guards, they invariably left the perimeter exposed. GILAS punished them for this with ruthless efficiency. The ball movement was crisp, the extra passes were made, and the shooters stepped into their attempts with rhythm and absolute confidence. When a team can score inside at will and simultaneously rain down three-pointers from the outside, they become virtually unguardable. This inside-out dynamic, executed with precision and unselfishness, was a third pillar of their success. Finally, the fourth advantage, and perhaps the most intangible yet powerful force in the entire sport, is the Philippine home crowd. Playing in front of the Filipino fans is an experience unlike any other in global basketball. The sheer volume, the synchronized chants, the explosive roars that follow every made basket, and the collective groan that accompanies a defensive lapse create an atmosphere that is incredibly intimidating for visiting teams and limitlessly inspiring for the home squad. The games against Guam, played in the historic and intimate confines of the Blue Eagle Gym and other local arenas, felt like absolute cauldrons of noise. For Guam, every possession felt like an uphill battle against not just 5 players on the court, but thousands of screaming fans. For GILAS, the crowd was the wind at their backs, the invisible sixth man that fueled their fast breaks, energized their defensive closeouts, and willed them to victory. These 4 advantages, size and rebounding, roster depth, perimeter shooting, and home court supremacy, were the tactical and environmental factors that led to the decisive victories over Guam. However, amidst the celebration of these dominant performances, we must pivot our analysis to the deeply emotional and structurally significant narrative of Kai Sotto. To fully grasp the tragedy of his current situation, we must first understand the monumental scale of the plan he had meticulously constructed for this exact point in his career. Kai Sotto is not just a tall basketball player. He is a generational prospect, a unicorn in the Philippine basketball ecosystem. At 7 feet and 3 inches tall, he possesses a rare combination of size, fluidity, shooting touch, and high basketball intelligence. For years, his development has been managed with microscopic precision. He traveled to the United States to train with the elite G League Ignite program, exposing himself to NBA-level coaching and competition. He ventured to the fiercely physical Australian NBL to toughen his interior game, learning to battle against grown, seasoned professionals. He then transitioned to the Japanese B-League, a fast-paced, highly tactical environment that demanded quicker decision-making and improved perimeter defense. All of these calculated moves, all of these geographical and professional shifts were part of a master plan. The year 2025 into 2026 was targeted as his ultimate breakout year. This was the year his physical frame was expected to fully mature, adding the necessary muscle to withstand the rigors of the center position without sacrificing his unique mobility. His plan involved utilizing the FIBA Asian qualifiers as his global showcase, the platform where he would unequivocally demonstrate that he was ready to dominate international competition, ready to anchor the GILAS defense, and ready to take the final, definitive step toward his ultimate dream of playing in the National Basketball Association. The strategy was brilliant, the timing was perfect, and then disaster struck. The anterior cruciate ligament, a crucial band of tissue that stabilizes a knee joint, is the Achilles heel of modern athletes, particularly for a player of Sotto's immense height and weight. The biomechanics of a 7'3" frame place extraordinary stress on the lower body joints. When the ACL tears, it is not merely a physical injury. It is a violent interruption of momentum. The physical rehabilitation is grueling, agonizing, and monotonous. It involves surgery, months of painful range of motion exercises, muscle atrophy, and the painstakingly slow process of rebuilding strength, proprioception, and explosive power. But the psychological devastation is often just as profound. For an athlete whose entire life has been regimented, goal-oriented, and focused on a rapidly ascending trajectory, being suddenly confined to a rehabilitation table is a massive psychological blow. The plan was ruined. The meticulously calculated timeline was thrown out the window. The countless hours of specific on-court skill development were replaced by countless hours of ice, elevation, and repetitive physical therapy. Yet, in the face of this monumental setback, the true character of Kai Sotto has been revealed, and it is a character that deserves immense respect and admiration. Instead of retreating into isolation, instead of allowing bitterness or frustration to consume him, Sotto has chosen to remain deeply embedded within the GILAS Filipinas program. This is a critical point that demands expansion. For a young superstar, nursing severe injury, the easy path would be to step away, to focus entirely on personal recovery overseas, and to detach from the national team until he is 100% healthy. But Sotto recognized the value of his presence. He understood that his leadership, his voice, and his unwavering support are invaluable assets to a team navigating the pressures of international competition. He has been a constant fixture at practice sessions, observing, analyzing, and offering insights to his teammates. He has transitioned to non-contact training, carefully managing his workload, pushing his body to the absolute limits of his current medical clearance, but always prioritizing the long-term health of his knee over the short-term desire to return prematurely. He stated clearly that he doesn't want to rush his recovery because when he returns to court, he wants to have zero worries. This level of maturity, this profound understanding of the larger picture, is extraordinary for a player of his age. He was on the sidelines during the games against GUAM, not as a passive observer, but as a vocal leader, a cheerleader, and a strategic sounding board for his fellow big men. Coach Tim Cohn explicitly noted that Sotto's mere presence in the gym, his sheer physical stature standing on the sidelines, provided a massive psychological boost to the entire squad. It reinforces a culture of brotherhood, the idea that nobody is above the team, and that even in times of personal adversity, the commitment to the flag remains absolute. The absence of Sotto also forced Coach Cohn to make significant tactical adjustments that ultimately proved successful against GUAM, but will be severely tested in the upcoming, vastly more difficult windows of the qualifiers. Without Sotto's rim protection, GILAS had to rely on a more collective, swarm-like interior defense. They had to front the post more aggressively, rely on weak side help rotations, and utilize the strength of players like Japeth in what was a highly emotional and deeply resonant swan song for the legendary forward. The send-off for Japeth during this window was a beautiful, tear-jerking moment in Philippine basketball history. For over a decade, Japeth has been a human pogo stick of the national team, a player whose incredible leaping ability provided countless highlight reel dunks and crucial block shots. To see him play his final games, passing the torch to the next generation, added a layer of profound historical weight to these qualifiers. He went out in style, helping secure the sweep against GUAM, leaving the court for the final time to the deafening applause of a grateful nation. But moving forward, the reality sets in. As GILAS prepares for the dawning window too, where they will face the incredibly physical and highly disciplined New Zealand Tall Blacks, and the absolute powerhouse that is the Australian Boomers, the absence of Kai Sotto will be magnified tenfold. GUAM was a test. New Zealand and Australia are the final exams. These are teams that boast legitimate NBA talent, immense size across all 5 positions, and a level of tactical execution that punishes any mistake. To defeat them, GILAS will need every ounce of the 4 advantages we discussed earlier, but they will also need to find a way to replicate the sheer gravity that Kai Sotto commands on the floor. When Sotto is on the court, he warps opposing defenses. Teams must dedicate multiple defenders to keep him off the block, which inherently opens up the perimeter for the shooters. Defensively, his wingspan alters shots, Dieter's drives, and allows the GILAS guard to press higher up the floor, knowing they have a massive safety net behind them. Without him, the margin for error against elite teams like Australia completely vanishes. The guards must be perfect in their rotations, the bigs must box out with flawless technique, and the offensive execution must be incredibly sharp. The injury also derailed the specific synergy that Coach Cohn was hoping to build between Sotto and the naturalized player, Justin Brownlee. The high-low game between a brilliant playmaking forward like Brownlee and a massive, highly skilled target like Sotto was supposed to be the foundational offensive set piece for GILAS in the half-court. It is a pairing that, on paper, is virtually unstoppable in the Asian region. Brownlee's ability to drive and draw the defense, followed by a lob to a towering Sotto, is a play that cannot be scouted or defended if executed correctly. Because of the injury, this synergy remains theoretical. The team has had to rely more heavily on spread pick and rolls, isolation plays, and transition scoring. While this worked beautifully against GUAM, the question remains whether it will be sustainable against the towering front lines of the Boomers and the Tall Blacks. Furthermore, the absence of Calvin Oftana, another crucial piece of the GILAS puzzle who was sidelined with a hamstring injury, further depleted the team's depth and perimeter shooting capabilities. Oftana is a versatile forward, a player capable of defending multiple positions, spacing the floor with his three-point shooting, and finishing aggressively at the rim. Losing both Sotto and Oftana simultaneously meant that GILAS was operating without two of its most potent offensive weapons. The fact that they still managed to dominate GUAM so comprehensively is a massive testament to the next-man-up mentality instilled by Coach Cohn and the sheer talent of the remaining 16 players in the pool. It is a testament to Quentin Millora-Brown stepping up and claiming the paint as his own. It is a testament to Jericho Cruz fighting valiantly on the other side for GUAM, providing a stark reminder of the talent present across the Pacific. It is a testament to Renz Abando, who turned the arena into his personal highlight reel, proving that his time in the Korean Basketball League has refined his raw athleticism into a potent, highly efficient offensive weapon. As we analyze the entirety of the situation, we must look at the broader implications for the Philippine basketball program. The victory over GUAM is a box checked, a necessary step taken on the road to the 2027 World Cup. It showcased the depth, the tactical flexibility, and the unrelenting passion of the team. But the story of Kai Sotto serves as a sobering reminder of the fragility of sporting ambitions. It highlights the absolute necessity of sports science, injury prevention, and comprehensive rehabilitation protocols within the national team infrastructure. It forces the program to confront the reality that they cannot rely entirely on the health of one singular generational talent. The development of the entire pool must continue at an accelerated pace. The grassroots programs must continue to identify and nurture tall, athletic prospects. The coaching staff must continue to innovate, devising schemes that can succeed both with and without a towering center. Because ultimately, the goal is not just to qualify for the World Cup. The goal is to compete to advance and to shock the world on the biggest stage imaginable. And while Kai Sotto's beautifully constructed plan for this year may have been ruined by the cruel twist of a torn ligament, his unwavering dedication, his mature approach to his recovery, and his continued presence on the sidelines ensure the ultimate plan, the plan of bringing absolute glory to Philippine basketball, remains very much alive. His journey back to the court will be arduous, it will be testing, and it will require an immense amount of physical and mental fortitude. But when he finally steps back onto the hardwood, wearing the national colors, fully healed, fully matured, and fully ready to unleash the culmination of years of hard work, it will be a moment of unparalleled triumph. It will be the realization of a dream deferred, a plan resurrected, and a nation entirely united behind its greatest basketball hope. Until then, GILAS Pilipinas marches forward, utilizing their four advantages, leaning on their incredible depth, and drawing limitless energy from the passionate millions who stand behind them, ready to face the giant of Oceania in the battles to come. As we draw this exhaustive, deeply analytical, and highly comprehensive deep dive to a close, we find ourselves reflecting on the beautiful, chaotic, and profoundly emotional tapestry that is Philippine basketball. We have journeyed to the tactical masterclass displayed by head coach Tim Cohn, dissecting precise mechanisms of the four distinct advantages that GILAS Pilipinas wielded like a broadsword against a valiant but ultimately outmatched squad from GUAM. We have marveled at the sheer physical dominance of the rebounding performance, the staggering depth of the roster that sent waves of relentless energy onto the floor, the surgical precision of the perimeter shooting, and the undeniable, earth-shaking power of the Philippine home crowd. We celebrated the high-flying acrobatics of Renz Abando, the steady, cold-blooded execution of Justin Brownlee, and the deeply moving, historically significant farewell to the legendary Japeth Aguilar, a man who has given his heart, soul, and countless high-altitude highlights to the national cause for over a decade. The victories against Guam were not just tallies in the win column. They were statement of intent, powerful declarations that this iteration of GILAS Pilipinas is focused, disciplined, and terrifyingly capable. Yet, interwoven with these threads of triumph is the deeply poignant, sobering narrative of Kai Sotto. We have explored the tragic interruption of a flawlessly constructed development plan, a multi-year roadmap designed to culminate in this exact moment, on this exact stage, only to be shattered by the unforgiving reality of a severe knee injury. We delved into biomechanical devastation of a torn anterior cruciate ligament for a 7'3" athlete, the grueling physical rehabilitation, and the profound psychological resilience required to navigate such a monumental setback. But more importantly, we highlighted Sotto's incredible maturity, his unwavering commitment to the team, and his inspiring presence on the sidelines, proving that true leadership transcends the ability to physically step onto court. His journey back will be long. It will be difficult. But his mindset guarantees that his eventual return will be nothing short of spectacular. As the dust settles on this initial window of the FIBA World Cup Asian qualifiers, the horizon looms with significantly larger, more intimidating challenges. The towering, highly physical squads of New Zealand and Australia await, presenting a crucible that will test the absolute limits of GILAS Pilipinas' tactical flexibility, their physical endurance, and their mental fortitude without their generational anchor in the middle. The road to the 2027 FIBA World Cup is fraught with peril, but the games against Guam have shown us anything. It is that this team possesses resilience, a depth of talent, and an unyielding fighting spirit that can overcome immense adversity. We will be here, analyzing every possession, breaking down every strategic adjustment, and documenting every emotional high and agonizing low as this remarkable journey continues. We want to thank you, our incredibly dedicated and passionate audience, for joining us on this extensive deep dive. Your support, your insightful comments, and your unwavering love for the game are what make producing these exhaustive analyses so incredibly rewarding. We encourage you to share your thoughts, your tactical breakdowns, and your messages of support for Kai Sotto's recovery in the discussion below. Basketball in the Philippines is a never-ending story, a continuous cycle of heartbreak, hope, and transcendent joy, and we are absolutely thrilled to have you with us for every single chapter. Keep the passion alive, keep supporting the national team, and always remember the profound unifying power of the beautiful game.